Thanks a lot to the Amici della Terra onlus and also to EDF to organizing this interesting workshop. I'm happy to share the presentation, but before sharing, I'm happy also, and thanks also the panelists, because as someone already told us, they set the context, so the boundary condition of what we are doing in Italy, both looking to what is happening at worldwide level, and as Mauro, but also Salvatore was stating, at European level. So I will share the screen. Yeah. So I will show you some example on what we are doing at national level, and how we put the national level, not only investment, but work in the context of European Copernicus development. So as the National Environmental Monitoring System, ISPRA and the Regional Environmental Agency are carrying out several research activities with applicative purpose aimed at monitoring specific indexes and parameters for the environment and the territory. So just to introduce what ISPRA and the National Environmental Monitoring System is doing, it has to implement, as you were just citing now, the implementation of European Framework Directive that has to be accepted and approved at national level. So I'm happy to tell that since quite a long time, at least 10 to 15 years, Earth observation has significantly contributed to improving the daily life of the environmental monitoring system. So all the examples we will see in the presentation are really linked to what is the Framework Directive already stating, and as Mauro was clearly showing, also in the new European Commission government, the Green Deal and also the decarbonization is something that is keep it in mind as a priority. So considering that, and considering what the Copernicus program and the availability of Earth observation data can give right now, we have started to look on what the Earth observation Copernicus program is doing. So really the Copernicus is the space integrated by in situ and modeling data. So we have the availability not only of data, but also of the information already delivered by the Copernicus services. And as already Mauro clearly stated, it's really based on the user uptake and really based on the user need and requirements. So in Italy, we have mirrored the structure that is clearly implemented at European level with the Copernicus Committee and the Copernicus User Forum. So we have created a Copernicus User Forum at national level, where all the major public authorities are discussing the requirements and the needs in terms of like what is needed for the operational thematic services. And of course, in this discussion, the Italian Space Agency, but also the industry association are deeply involved in this discussion. So we have set up a quite robust scheme of how we are collecting the user requirement, so how we collect these requirements. And we are analyzing and clusterizing all these requirements, because one of the major issues also in the decarbonization scheme is that the requirements can be really different. So it has also to be understood that also the public institutions have to make an effort in order to make information need clusterization. And what is, let's say, the gap analysis that we can all do with the availability of the Earth observation data that are already on the market, and which are the need for future operational services. So the The requirements are already published in terms of like robust methodologies, and they have like a specific goal not to set the technology, but to set what is needed in terms of user perspective and optimization for the Copernicus evolution offer, and what is the definition of operational services. Of course, this is just an example of about, you know, operational coastal user need and operational, but that is really related also to the methane and also, you know, decarbonization is a user perspective in relation to like two main European legislation. One is related to the climate change, and the other one, of course, is related to the common agricultural policy. So the user Earth observation data and services based on Copernicus program is quite extensive after 10-15 years. And you will see that these services are related to land consumption, hydraulic risk, coastal dynamics, air quality, habitat mapping, and land movements. At the end of the presentation, you will see how all these operational services must be still integrated with some technology and some gap that is still missing, but it's also, you know, really related also to the methane strategies, because most of these services can be used in the discussion with the enterprise, also in the methane approach. So I'm also happy to show that one of the first, let's say, mirror Copernicus that also Mara was stating is our operational services that was developed in synergy between ASI and ISPRA, and we have like two operational services based on Earth observation data. The first one that I'm showing is the operational services on a national scale that is delivered by the Environmental Network National System that is delivering three main information. One is the numerical models for forecasting air quality up to 72 hours and daily analysis with an horizontal resolution of 7 × 7 kilometers. So the boundary condition, that's why we call the mirror Copernicus, is you know, the downscaled by the Copernicus atmosphere monitoring services, and then is integrated with in situ data measurements from the environmental network system with some meteorological modeling based on the Cosmo MET modeling and some input emissive data. And then we will see that they are also integrated some with some Sentinel data of Sentinel-5P. So this is already operational, is already running daily. So a second part of the operational services developed by ASI and ISPRA is the reanalysis of a national scale with using statistical model with daily temporal resolution. With explanatory variables that take into account meteorology. And you see that we are using also land use from the core services of Copernicus Land. The emission still from the national network from ISPRA, the AUD that are some data from NASA, and from the road network of the OpenStreetMap. Then we have a response variable integrated with concentration measured by still the SNPA network. As a third operational part of the system, we are delivering annual and seasonal assessment of desert storm transport events and quantification of the contribution to PM10 concentration. This is really important because as we have seen also, and I'm linking to what Simonetta Kelly was showing, seeing during the COVID closing period, the PM10 concentration was not so lowering down because the contribution provided by the dust emissions, so the input data were like measured by the station, the National Monitoring Network, and the National Database of Events. And this make clear how it's important to have a system with Copernicus data that are for free, open, and free of charge, integrated by the national system. And we are recently starting to test also the contribution of, as an example, national mission like PRISMA. So how we can use the PRISMA hyperspectral mission in order to integrate some measures. And I'm happy also to say that we have a project with NASA also using the PRISMA dataset to integrate to test the methane emission in that sense. So the second operational services that is downscaled from the Copernicus core services and Sentinel data is still another operational service that we call habitat mapping, that is dealing with land national cover classification. And it's based both on Copernicus core services, land cover products, downscaled at national scale, but also at regional and local scale. And then we have tested how to integrate some multispectral Sentinel-2 and Sentinel-1 integration for automatic land cover classification. Of course, the service is running and it has 2 refresh per year. So you can understand how much information we are giving for the territory and land consumption monitoring. So ISPRA and the environmental monitoring system has to ensure the annual monitoring of the territory and of the land consumption. And I'm really happy to say that we are now fully operational using the Copernicus and some Sentinel information integrated to these services. So you can see the difference between that the service Copernicus already delivered by the land and by EEA, that is an endowed and trusted entities that is coordinating and the land monitoring services, but how we integrate some multispectral indices in order to ensure a better accuracy, resolution, and timeless that European products cannot, of course, deliver. But this is really the important link between the European level and the national work that can be done. In the same habitat mapping operational services, we are also producing biodiversity monitoring. So really taking into account what is the EU Biodiversity Strategy for 2030, the European Green Deal, and of course the European Habitat Directive. So in this sense, we have built an assessment also of green infrastructure in riparian zone using the full spectrum of product available by Copernicus program. So this is done in terms of like environmental damage for, detecting the damage directly. And this is really important because we are really linking the Copernicus to what is really an obligation for member state. The common agricultural policy that is really important for the greenhouse gas emission, and of course the estimation of natural capital. So in this sense, we have set it up an Earth observation big data analysis based on artificial intelligence and machine learning model in order to integrate in situ data, so environmental database, drone surveys, Earth observation, including Sentinel, but also now, as I was telling you, testing the hyperspectral possibility right now with Prisma. So doing the spectral analysis and multi-temporal analysis of all this data. So in order to do that, we are running a machine learning model using random forest and sampling and producing a predictive max. So we have delivering a monitoring change in space and time at national level. As a final part of the operational habitat mapping services, we are integrating also the development of innovative services like the river morphology and satellite hydraulic modeling risk. So we are using both Earth observation directly delivered by Copernicus, acquiring some drone acquisition, and then we are using an already operational IDRAM national reference model that is really linked to what Italy and all member states has to deliver for the implementation of Water Framework Directive and flood direction. So we have set it up an innovative national services that is based for the observation of water bodies from both satellites Copernicus, so both radar and optical images. So based on these 2 operational services, we are also running as environmental monitoring services an analyzing and daily monitoring of the extreme hydro-meteorological and meteor marine events. So based on some modeling, integration, and assimilation of all this data, we are delivering all this information to the tide forecast, to the forecast verification and evaluation of model predictive capabilities. So we are dealing a lot also with coastal monitoring for all the national level, but both for marine monitoring and forecasting, geomorphological monitoring, but also for habitat monitoring. As a last point, but you will see in the next slide, we are also using, and we are still, really looking forward to the ground motion services that at Copernicus, at European level, it is going to be delivered. How we can use the satellite radar interferometry for several applications that are related to subsidence, tectonic, volcanic activity, but also for landslide, and especially in the recent past, we have, as Italy, really supported also the European Commission in order to understand how we can use all this great amount of data also for cultural heritage. So based on these operational services, we are now trying to link and create use case to the methane and to the industry. And so you can see that if we start to look to exploration, production, processing, transmission and storage, post-meter, so distribution and additional, a lot of operational products that we are now delivering at national level can really bootstrap the, let's say, the market uptake that was mentioned at the very beginning. So the storage site of oil spill is something that we are already implementing, or how we can use ground movements monitoring and corresponding structure infrastructure. So how we can use this data information for this type of processing. And of course, monitoring of networks and pipeline, and all the gaseous emission monitoring and landfill accidents that are, the one that we were taking into consideration and already delivering at national level with the habitat monitoring operational services. So I close the presentation, making the link that part of this development will be done with the National Mirror Copernicus operation plan, where the scheme is almost the same, where the buyer groups, mostly institutional, are really making the sets of requirements for the specific services. And I'm happy to underline that the scheme is involving all the, let's say, principal buyer at national level and at European level. So is the project management, is the Ministry of Industrial Development and the Italian Space Agency that are going to interact with the industry and with the buyer groups. We have involved also ECNWF and ESA as an international part in the Research National Institute to provide all the players involved to try to implement a next step in this direction.